Go for it.
And hello, welcome to our YouTube, our pre-show lineup for Memory Jogger, the podcast. We are doing part 2 of our, we keep calling it the WCPA chat because that's really what it is. It's the majority of the discussion, but this is more of a part 2, more of radio broadcasting, our
history, career, all that stuff.
So we're not going to really dabble too much in what we do now as podcasters. We're going to go back again, Memory Jogger, back there. We're going to go talk about, probably most of it will be WCPA there. But Jason, he worked at the college radio station during college, obviously. And I went off, joined the Air Force. And then after, I think about 10 months, I'm like, I got to get back in radio, and landed a job, little part-time gig at just an AM station. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But I wanted to welcome you aboard for our next radio station, Memory Jogger, fun to do podcast.
I think your screen share is still on. So you're like, I'm seeing myself twice.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's what we do the pregame. You get to see the bloopers of practical jokes. I need a hotkey like over here or something that goes bleh or do whatever.
Yeah, here I'll give you the old where are they?
The whammy?
No, I'll just give you a laughing out loud. Now that we got the little emojis.
So this is on the Memory Jogger chapter of Rediscover the 80s. Just recently we did another test bed with using Skype. Skype is our new tool that we're experimenting with. And we did pole position for our rediscovered entity. So we're still learning if we like this or if we're going to go back to Hangouts. We're beta testing, if you will.
Well, in the audio quality, if you listen to the podcast, I know it's going to be below par from what it was with Hangouts. But at the same time, I think the video is a little bit better, and I like the side-by-side we're doing. So, I don't know. It's getting to be where some have the pros and cons are starting to weigh on both sides, because obviously we're editing more for the podcast here, not necessarily our video cast, but I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens with the sound quality, if we can get that adjusted, or why it's recording tonight. So yeah,
one of the benefits we've liked so far, at least on my side, is when we're talking, and a lot of our podcasts, you'll hear Jason chime in, typically to correct me. Like Montreal, dude. It was Montreal. Really? I kept saying Toronto, and Toronto. Did not hear him. And you notice I will stall during the chat because I hear him trying to talk. It's like the old, I call it simplex, kind of the CB radio concept. You can't hear him until you key off the link. So I will shut down verbally to try to hear what Jason's saying. This is completely like a true telephone, like where you can actually talk, and I don't have to feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, that's a lot better too. Just through Hangouts. Hangouts sucks about that. And then the audio level just kind of dips when we're both, laughing or even, just whatever. So I don't know. We'll get it figured out and what we like best and what works best. But right now we're with Skype. And
that's right. And we will start our podcast here in just a couple seconds. Are we ready?
I think so. Let me I'll get the notes up here so I can do the intro.
I find it funny whenever you turn the notes on.
I get brighter?
It's brighter.
Yeah. The Skype or Hangout strings.
I can't say too much. I have really no light. I have literally a lamp in front of me. That's my front lamp light, and I have my room light, which is all up above me. So that's
all I got is a ceiling fan light. So
yeah, I like your disco shadow. You need a disco.
Oh my!
All your stuff behind you. You need a disco ball up there.
That's a little more 70s disco balls. I don't know. We had a disco ball at the roller skating rink, though.
Yeah, and there's still a few DJs that will bring one out.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get Memory Jogger started, right? That's what we're doing tonight, right?
That is the chapter we are doing.
We're getting too many shows.
Is it like doing business as? We got Rediscover the 80s, but we're doing business as.
Right, Memory Jogger tonight, yeah. No, I don't know. I wanted a variety of shows in the podcast feed, just so we're not doing the same old thing every time. You know, keep it fresh. So
I think we're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to cap it at some point. We've got 5 shows, 6 shows. Okay, that's enough.
It's never enough.
All right, well, let's start Memory Jogger. Welcome back to Memory Jogger on the Rediscover the 80s podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening as we attempt to jog our memories and run down a few childhood dreams from the 80s and our high school years in the early 90s. This is Jason, your friendly disc jockey, spinning the records with my producer and engineer extraordinaire, Wyatt. How are you, sir?
Great, but I think you're more the producer when it comes to our shows, because you're the one that actually does all the production work. I just sit back here. The only production work that I have, and I'll show you guys here, this is what I do. I don't know if you can really see it. Bend over. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. Sorry.
I saw a glimpse.
So I have a little mini mixer beside me that I loop. Basically, I come out of the computer just to come right back in, and that's how I mix stuff. Jason actually kind of had it right. I like the new nickname that he tried to call me here on the last First Jobs, our First Jobs podcast, and that was Mixmaster WB.
Mixmaster WB.
It's a lot better than what Bob called me when he first met me. It was like the first day or two. He called me Wonder Wyatt. I'm like, what the heck? What? And that stuck. He called me, it's Wonder Wyatt. Can we come up with a better name?
It's like a superhero name, man. I always thought it was cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we are up to episode 14 of Memory Jogger. And as I alluded to, we are delving back into our early, I'll call it semi-professional careers in radio on this episode. And we did do our First Jobs episode, which had a lot of radio in there. But Wyatt, who has the photographic memory, came up with like a 3D model that first time of our old studio at WCPA and WQYX in Clearfield. And he's improved on that, and we've got some other sound clips we're actually going to mix in using our screen share here with Skype, and some other trinkets and surprises. But I did want to show you one thing before we get started, Wyatt. The reason why I have the camera tilted up was because, yes, I found my QYX t-shirt.
I can't find mine. I'm so jealous.
I was digging through the memory box. I knew I had some t-shirts in there, so I was like, oh, I got to find this and put it on.
I have dug and dug through all of I technically have like 3 memorabilia boxes. Uh-huh. And I've dug, and I know I still have that. So Jason was telling us on the First Jobs that he came up with this. So I have wanted a t-shirt. I kept asking Bob, can I get a t-shirt? He said, no, we don't give it to employees. I said, I think I asked him why. Wouldn't it be like cool to have advertising, something? And he's like, no, it's okay. Jason goes, just before he gets hired, he goes and enters a contest at the little sports store that we had in the Clearfield Mall.
It was like a clothing store. I can't remember what exactly the name of it was.
Right, and he wins a freaking QYX shirt, and a little jealous, but whatever. And fast forward, he gets a job at QYX, and he's gloating that he's able to get a T-shirt from freaking QYX as an intern. I'm a paid employee. I can't even get a freaking. So then, out of the generosity of his heart, he sends me the T-shirt that he won from the contest.
Okay, so that's where it went.
And Now, for the life, I've kept it in a box because I want to pristine it. I'm not going to wear it because,
You need to frame it.
I should have. But
yeah, I remember there being a message of the store on the back.
I'm sorry?
So I remember one of the shirts that I had the store name on the back. That's probably the one that I sent you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, yeah, we're breaking out all the memorabilia tonight. And before we get into the episode, I wanted to go through. We actually got some feedback from a couple of different sources. I wanted to go through that, and then I've got one little icebreaker too I wanted to throw at you. But as far as feedback goes, this is mainly from our last episode, which was the game show memories. We had Ken Spalding, who sent me a message on Facebook. He said, I just wanted to tell you I love your website and podcast. I think I'm a couple years older than Jason and Wyatt, but everything they talk about opens up the nostalgia floodgates. Keep up the great content. So, thank you, Ken. Yes, we're about the same age. Wyatt, you're, 9 days out of the year, you're 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
And then, so he was born in 75, right?
That's my year, yeah.
Yeah. November 4th, 75, and I was born November 13th, 76. So for those 9 days, he can gloat he's 2 years older than me. So that's how old we are, in case you all were wondering. Also got some comments, one from YouTube. Gerospace, who he usually comments on everything that we post, and I appreciate him tagging along. He says that he did play hooky for the cartoons and the game shows. When we were talking about that, did we ever play hooky from school? So he admitted to that. So thank you for for chiming in about that. And then BitGeek, who I believe has a podcast. They said they loved the floppy disk Airwolf theme. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to inject that one into the episode there. And then on Twitter, we had a couple, we had one comment on Twitter, and that was from the Retro Rambler at Yesterdayville, who I've had as a guest on Rankum. He said, listening to Memory Jogger got me missing Supermarket Sweep in a bad way. Now, you remember Supermarket Sweep?
I do. I didn't watch it, but I remember seeing it in a waiting room or something. It was crazy.
They did, if memory serves me correctly, they did Supermarket Sweep, and then they did one at a mall. Oh, gosh, what was the name of that? Shop Till You Drop.
Yeah.
I think they ran those two back to back. And I did like Supermarket Sweep. That was fun. That was all about getting to that final, 2 minutes that they got to just go through the store and tear it apart. They would always run to the huge, Hams, baby formula, and what was the other one that was the high dollar? Maybe it was the laundry detergent. Yes. Those big jugs of laundry soap. Oh yeah, I do remember. That's probably the only time I ever watched Lifetime.
There was a spoof that I think with Married with Children. I think it was Al and Marcy.
Oh really? Oh.
Yeah, it was hilarious because of course they're trying to fight, crouch, and you got Al Bundy going to this slow mo.
And then Shop Till You Drop was kind of I think it was almost like Finders Keepers or something, where they had the two levels and there was 4 or 5 stores on each level. And I can't remember how that one went. They had little mini games, and I think there was some kind of spree at the end of the show, their end game, kind of like what Supermarket Sweep did. But yes, that was a good one. We did not bring that one up on the show, so I'm glad he added that in. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if you saw this. I think I might have texted it to you.
You did.
I picked up the Win, Lose, or Draw board game for $1.20. And as far as I can tell, everything is there. I was kind of thumbing through the cards to see what some of the phrases were. I was like, we might be able to play it today. There's some stuff that might be a little outdated. But, now I'm getting the echo. Skype, man. Come on, stop with the echo. Thank you. So, yeah, that was fun. Just, I laughed when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh. And I looked at the price and I was like, I'm walking home with it. It was like 40% off day and it was $2. So, I mean, come
awesome.
on. And that was our feedback. So if you guys want to leave us some feedback, go to the website and find our show notes, or just, if you watch the video on YouTube, leave one there. You can tweet us at RD80s, at InfamousWB. That's where you can find it and leave us some feedback. And then the icebreaker I saw, this was weird. This guy just seemed to pop into my feed. I'm surprised I hadn't seen him before. But he's got a website, and then he's got Instagram, Twitter, and all the social media. I did see him on Instagram first, though, and he goes by 80s Then, 80s Now. Mm-hmm. And he supposedly has, like, the world's largest collection of 80s memorabilia, like toys, board games, comics, everything.
That's awesome.
40,000 pieces in his collection. So I saw a video, I think it was on Sci-Fi Wire or something like that. Anyway, they interviewed this guy, and they're going through, like, his house, and, I mean, he's just, some of the pictures that he posts, he's got, like, a whole room full of, like, Happy Meal boxes. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are, like, old and stuff.
Right.
Like, 80s, you could, pick those out easily. Just that era of the Happy Meal boxes and everything. And board games, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's he has everything. And I was reading his story a little bit over there on his website, which is a pretty cool story on how he started collecting and all that. But had you heard anything about this guy before?
No, I had no clue about this guy. I'm going to have to look him up and see what he has. I wonder if he's versed enough that he lent a hand to the Goldbergs, just out of curiosity,
See, that's what he needs to do. He needs to, like, hook up with the Goldbergs and then, okay, what do you need? You need some Happy Meal boxes and you need some board games or something, I'm sure that they have their own, like, source for getting all that stuff, but that's like a whole museum of, I don't know, just 80s memorabilia.
Maybe that's what he should do, is start up a 80s museum.
I would be the first one in line to buy a ticket. But he was trying to get, like, the Guinness World Record to recognize him, but they were like, well, your collection's too generic. It's not like all comics or all toys or whatever. So that I guess he kind of gave up that fight. But anyway, go check that out. 80s Then, 80s Now. Pretty much, all the social medias and stuff. And just look at some of the pictures that he's posted. It's pretty amazing. Okay. So, did you have anything as far as an icebreaker goes, or are you ready to get into this?
I'm ready to get into this. I don't have much for icebreakers. Can't stay up on much.
Well, how did you want to kind of go through here? Did you want to go through just basically by year or station, or?
Trying to do it by station / year. So we both started, of course, at WCPA-WQYX,
mm-hmm.
and then you obviously transitioned to your next station, WTXR, and then myself, WINU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was around. When did you start again at WCPA? That was 93?
1993. I know it's on.
You've got the dang contract, but
I've been thinking I could have popped it up, but I wasn't planning on it.
Well, that's fine, but yeah, and I started. I think 94 would have been the summer of 94. I think is when I started there. And what shifts do you mainly remember working? Did you have us like a regular schedule from week to week, or were you just kind of floating all over the place?
I started one night a week. It was, I think, the Saturday to Sunday shift, which was like 6 at night till it was a time for it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it moved to 4 a.m. I think it was 4 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. And I did that once a week. And like I hinted on our first jobs episode, I bragged more so in school that I technically had 4 jobs in high school for the last 4 months of school, because I worked at the gas station, but I was a floater at 3 different stations. So, one night I was working in Clearfield, one night in Carlsville, one night in DuBois, and the other night, WCPA. So I toted that on my back, I'll call it, that I had, 4 jobs. There it is. So let's see what my date was. 6 September of 1993. Let me see if I can pop it up for proof.
You're coming up on your 25th anniversary here next month.
Yeah. So, yeah. Is it coming up? I can't tell.
I see your folder.
You're not supposed to see my folder, so I'll just move it over here.
There you go.
So there's the contract. So 6 September 93. So I just started right as we got into high school. And like you say, I'm not going to recount it, but basically go to the first jobs. You'll hear the whole story. In fact, I didn't realize I told it twice. Told it once to Bob, which we had recorded the day before, and then we recorded the next day, and I still retold the story, and I didn't really think about it. So I've been listening to it.
I haven't even noticed.
Yeah. So yeah, I started there, and I know you had started. I always thought it was only a couple months after, but I didn't realize it was, like you said, the following summer is about the time you started.
I think so, and I don't have any paperwork or anything like you do. But I'm thinking it was I don't know, because it could have been like right before we graduated too, because I remember in my my senior bio, from the yearbook, I wrote in there that I wanted to be a DJ and go to college, blah blah blah. So I don't know if I had the bug before I started there. I would assume it would be after I started there. So maybe it was before I graduated that I actually started doing some shifts on the weekends. Maybe the Penn State games or something. But I do know when I got out of school that summer was when I was working the afternoon shift from and I just got the echo again. The afternoon shift from I think I went in at 12 to maybe 6, something like that.
6:30, because it was always after Johnny Holiday.
6:30. And it might have been a little before 12, because they did the noon news, and I do remember running the board. Actually, no. Bob ran the board for the noon news with John Billy.
That's his name.
He was the other guy that when they went back and forth during the noon news. Bob ran all that, and I came in right after the noon news. I think probably like 12:15 or 12:30 to take over the board, and then Gene Burns and Rush Limbaugh for all those hours.
Yeah, he's the other guy I've been trying to figure out on
John Billy. Not John Boy and Billy, just John Billy. If you've ever listened to them.
No. Why can't I do it? Anyway, so on one of our spots, promos is actually what it was. Mm-hmm. I couldn't figure out who he was. Couldn't remember the name, but I knew he was there just shortly before I left. Mm-hmm. It's this one. Yep, I'm doing it. Where is it?
When adverse weather sets in, Operation Snow Watch steps in.
Clearfield County's information station will have school closings, meeting cancellations, road conditions, and the latest weather to help you make it through another central Pennsylvania winter.
Stay with 900 CPA for Operation Snow Watch whenever the need arises.
Yeah.
And so, as a kid, let me tell you, that was the sound. It was like Pavlov's dogs. When you heard that sound, you rushed to your radio to see if your school had a delay. You know, when it was snowing outside. Do we have an hour delay? Do we have a 2-hour delay?
The information you need at 900 CPA. School closings, meetings, road conditions, and weather. A service of 900 CPA and Dots Motor Company, Market Street in downtown Clearfield. With new Ford cars and trucks that go in snow.
Beep, 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 beep,
Yep.
beep.
Yep.
We got an hour delay. Yes.
That was John Billy. Yeah. Oh my gosh! I remember just hearing that sound, and you're just glued to the radio, waiting to hear them say hour delay, 2-hour delay, or cancellation. Oh my gosh,
man! So yeah, we like we said in the first jobs, we really were there for. Well, I was there obviously about 15 months. I think Jason said he was there a total of 15 months, but there was a short period. Approximately in the summer till just a week, I think, before I left for basic training. Probably the last week of January, and we had just a blast working there. There'd be nights like we said that he'd want to stay for an extra hour, and we were goofing off. We get the talk show going, so we knew we had between 15 and 20 minutes of goof off time in between. And we would pseudo rap, like we said on the CD player, Aerosmith. That was the one. He apologizes. I like Aerosmith, but he's the one that got me hooked on him. So that's why he apologizes. But we would pseudo rap it. Some other ones too, but Aerosmith was the one we kind of had fun with the most. And then Jason said that we used to goof off on the front computer out in the office playing. Minesweeper. Me, there was some kind of fighter game. That was the one I always played. Solitaire was the other one I played though as well. And you have to listen to the first job. That's where the bulk of that fun is. I'm sure we can come up as we go through this. We might come up with some another one or two gags gag reels sort of.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because we had computers at school, and it was mainly the Apple IIs that we used at school or Macintosh. I can't remember, but some of those computers were new to me back then because the only other interaction was your Texas Instruments computer and whatever was at school. I didn't have a computer at home,
right?
At all. So going out there in the office and messing around, and oh my gosh, this has games on it. You could play Solitaire, you could play Free Cell, you could play this Minesweeper thing, and you can. Oh my gosh, I would play Minesweeper forever.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was the coolest thing, but they're beyond just the games. It was getting accustomed to Windows, whatever Windows was back then.
We didn't have any type of mouse. We never worked with a mouse. We had a straight keyboard. If you were lucky, you had a joystick on. My game had the joystick on it, but to me it never reacted right. So I always went back to the keyboard. That's why my Texas Instruments, when I type E, it types 5 E's now because I. But yeah, that was so cool. That like you said, it was the novelty of wow, I can move this little mouse. Whoa, I can interact with it. Now we'll probably feel the same way with touchscreen. Whoa, look at that.
Yeah. Well, and we were on the cusp of the digital era. Right as we were leaving the radio station, there was some computers involved with the all of the automation systems that they had, but it was still a lot of physical, tangible stuff you had to do to make the radio station run with all the carts and cassettes, CDs, the whole nine.
And it was
still there. And there was timing, and there was, like you were doing, flipping the switches and turning the knobs, the pots, and, there was a lot involved if you think about it, on how much you were responsible for just for an hour's worth of programming.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, we had that script, and without that, we would have been blind, essentially, trying to, run a talk show through a satellite. So it was a unique time to be part of radio, in that we were before the digital era, and we were like on the tail end of just the analog and all of the other components of radio to get a little mix of everything there.
Right, and that's I'm looking over off screen from the camera, because I've rebuilt a pseudo what our log would have been like. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it was identical per se,
okay,
or 100%, but Jason could probably. Is this it? No, that's my Cubs log. There it is. Of course, now you're on the wrong screen.
That's okay.
Not you, my thing.
No, but that's fine.
So this is essentially what our log looked like. If you remember, I think there's some other jargon up here, like frequency or I don't know. So you had everything was timed out, like we said in our first jobs, at 5 seconds. We knew we had to only use the regular WCPA ID, not the long ID, to make it up. At 1800.
Flip your screen over.
I'm sorry?
Move your screen over, because I'm just seeing you.
Oh, really?
Where's click your tab at the bottom, wherever you got whatever you're talking about. Did you pull something up through screen share?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
there
now
it is.
I see it.
Sorry, it fumbled on me. So, back again. Here's a somewhat rendition of what our log looked like. So, like I said, we had the 5 seconds, and it was down to the second, right? So at 17 military time, so 5 at night, 5 p.m., 59 and 55 seconds, we knew we had to play a specific, this short ID. At 1800, we had ABC News, which was about a 5-minute. I threw numbers in here, so please don't take this verbatim. Then we did a WCPA jingle at the end to identify ourselves. And at that moment, we did Sun Radio Networks for 2 minutes. Or, I'm sorry, it looks like we did it for 7 minutes, rather. And then we did a C-Classic Dodge. That was the local dealership. Did their 30-second spot. Did a J.J. Powell spot. Rush Limbaugh promo. Then the jingle. Then the next segment. And this was our thing. And we alluded to, again, to remember to power down at night the AM transmitter to power down our power. That was written into the script. That time really didn't do anything for us because it didn't affect our true time. But that was something we needed to remember to reach back to the rack that was behind us. That's why I look back behind, because I still remember. And that's what we did. And because I'm looking back and walking back and all that.
There we go.
This would be a good time to show people what I'm talking about. So I forgot about the on-air lights. The last thing. Here's what they essentially looked like. And this is the outer shell of the rooms. Of course, AM booth, a window, our newsroom with their window, and the 2 doors. It doesn't show the hallway. I'm doing the inside. If you want to see the more building, go to First Jobs. So we're going to step in our virtual time machine.
Oh my gosh.
So you are going into where we sat. I still remember there was this plastic that was on the floor I want to say it was actually to try to insulate us because of the shock. That's what the bull that CJ gave me anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He also told me that you made soapy water and sprayed the carpet, which would help, and he would do that, which is hilarious. I watched him do it.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but whatever. So I don't know if I can get any closer than that to make it feel like we're standing there. So over here would be our log, like we have. I just showed you. This would be everything we do. We would initial off down the line, and then signature, a full signature, to say we were complete for that page, and then we move on. The rack's in the way. This, I couldn't do it right, but this is our promos. This was our promo cards.
All the cards,
yeah. Right, it's on the Lazy Susan. So it's sat here. It's 4-sided. Then we had our, whatever talk show we had our clock. This is what the clocks were. This ESPN, I snagged from my WINU station.
Ah, okay.
So that's why I had this. I found online, the America's Talk Radio, which used to be Sun Radio Networks. So,
gotcha. Yeah, that just shows these clock hours show, when the talk segments were, and then when there was local, and then when there was network spots that they would play. And then
there you can see right there on the ESPN what he's talking about. There's a local spot here for 1 minute. Here's a network spot. Then we tied into a local.
And that was all. This was basically our script visualized.
Oh, yes. And look, you can see right here, this is the weekend format. So from 6 to 1, this clock was correct, this timing, and the same for Sunday from 7 a.m. to 9. And again, this changed. There was pages. There was I still remember, it was a red book, red binder.
Mm-hmm.
And we flipped these pages for the weekday episodes of whatever, it was ESPN or Sun Radio Networks, Rush Limbaugh, whatever it was. That's what we did.
Yep. Yeah. You got your mic in there, and there was a mic off to the side there. Bob would do the news from the board, and then you had your mic over there on the side, and John Billy would stand there with his news stories in front of him, and they would cue each other back and forth as they did the noon news.
Still trying to get it to make it feel like we're sitting there in front of the board.
Yeah.
So this is what we looked.
That's good.
Exactly what we looked like. So these were actually looked like, lack of a better term, these were toggle switch, like light switches. You moved them left if you wanted to go to audition, center if it was off, or right on air, production. And so these were all tied, I think it was these last three that these were tied to. And they were remote wired. So when we hit this, a cart would play, and we would, like I said in the first jobs, you'd have a cue. Typically on one of these, it said, no ordinary dealer. That was C-Classic Dodge. Or,
and it was it could get a little hairy as you are playing through a commercial break, because you've got 3 cart machines. But if you had, 4 30-second spots, you had to go through each one. You had to make sure you pulled one out too and put in your 4th commercial, and then right after that you would usually need a jingle when you finished up. So you're basically juggling through 4, 5, 6 carts at a time as you're getting through the break. So it wasn't just, let me just put this in here, I'll hit the switch and hit it again, and you've got, it's a juggling act.
It was, and I think it was the NFL was our busiest days, because we would have sponsors out like crazy, and we would have like 9 carts, and I typically did I don't know how you organized it. I think how I used to organize it. I think there was enough space, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I had 1, 2, 3, and then a stack of them right on top of each other with. Ideally, I would put the jingle or whatever on this right, but however it lined up. So you'd flip. Okay, next one's on. Okay, come on, stop. Okay, yank out. Usually you would have to turn the next spot on, then put the next card in, yank this one.
Yeah.
Okay, now go this one. It was chaotic. And the other thing you could do, I don't know if you remember this, but there was 3 buttons down here on the board here, the platform or desk. They were also tied to this. So you could leave the channel open, and you can hit the cart machine here, 1, 2, 3. Tried to make it a little bit more efficient, but in essence, that's what that was for. They changed it to one button when they introduced, wrong button, wrong way, when they introduced our DigiLink, which is right here. Mm-hmm. That was a computer image, and I tried to superimpose what it kind of looked like, what we had as far as a menu. This was your schedule. Did you play, fast forward, stop, record, on air.
Did you ever play anything off of that in the AM?
Oh, I got in trouble, remember? I got in big trouble.
What were you doing?
So when this, like you alluded to back in the first jobs, I learned more about this than they did. So I started recording these. I get in early. I piss off Ricky Shea because he didn't like me coming in early. So I would get in early, or I'd find out that NFL was not until 2 or whatever. I had 2 hours, whatever. So I would cart machine record all the spots I had to worry about into DigiLink.
And play it off the DigiLink.
And I played it all off the DigiLink. But I did it all in the production room. So I'd take the carts, go into the production room, put it in that machine. It would already be networked, which I didn't realize what a network freaking was at the time.
Right.
But, it was all networked. And then I would set up my playlist. So when I would come back in here to the board, you could also hit, inject what was stops. And that actually stopped the playing of
before it goes on the next one.
Spots or whatever, right? So it'd stop it. So it would stop it. So I'd leave this channel open, whatever one it was for DigiLink, I think it was this one, and hit the button. Just let it play its thing, and I just sit back and la la la. This is cool, really, Mr. Cool. I'm in the digital age. I can.
So what got you in trouble?
What got me in trouble was there was a printer, which I didn't know what that really was, but there was a printer back in the sat room. Print every little stupid thing I was doing. It was printing that I was copying it. It was printing that I played it. and Bob went into the sat room one day and wondered why there was pages of printer being used on this printer. It shouldn't be in production. The only thing that should be running is the DigiLink in the FM booth, not the AM booth. Well, I guess if I remember right, CJ actually cooled him down. Because Bob came in there all hot, saying, "What's this kid know? He's running this thing." Blah, blah, blah. And CJ called him down and said, "Just don't go hard on him. He's doing what we need him to do, to learn the stuff. That's what we're going to do. So don't go hard on him. He just learned it. Just whatever." And CJ told me this backstory. Mm-hmm. Because he said, "Be ready. He might blow up you." I told him to calm down, but be ready. Just to let you know. And then he said, he's more pissed off that you know more than he does.
Right.
Okay, whatever. So fast forward, here comes Bob, and it's hilarious. I don't have he has the script, right, in his hand. I say the script, our little log. He's going, "Well, so yeah, I noticed that you know how to do DigiLink." And I said, "Well, aren't we supposed to know? I've been just slowly figuring it out, and I figured out how to record into it, and I've been able to figure out how to set it up." And he says, "Oh yeah, I've seen you being able to do that. That's pretty, but we're not ready for that just yet. It's not ready to be implemented just yet. So it's great that you know it, but hold off." Okay, no problem. And I left it be, and that was the end of the conversation. But I was in trouble because I knew how to do that.
That sucks.
So.
Wow.
But anyway, so back to our description of everything here. So, like I said on our podcast, when we said this makeshift Radio Shack job of a timer, this is the guy I basically remember. Yeah. White little box here with the little timer set up. And then we talked about our phone ringer, right? It had something like this, lights. I think this is all skewed. But this lit up. The ringer was in this newsroom. We could faintly hear it, but this was just lights, and that's when we knew we had a phone call. And typically, you have to call the 800 number. Or in the winter, I talked to Jason with this offline after we recorded. In the Christmas season, we had this totally too long of an answer response. So we pick up the phone. Happy holidays, WCPA, WQYX. This is Wyatt. How may I help you? Are you kidding me? That long? So. So yeah, this is the whole studio. I've tried to include everything up here. If you go high enough, is the little speaker box.
I see one thing you missed.
What did I miss?
The temperature.
Was it in here?
Yeah, there was a temperature right beside. It was a digital readout, exactly like that. But I think
right
it was
here, right?
Yeah, it was right beside the clock that showed. I don't know what temperature it was. It was the local temperature, or I don't know what. It was funny, like when we do weather after a news update, we just made stuff up about other towns. So we would go by. It is 82 degrees in Clearfield, 79 in DuBois, and 81 in State College. It was totally made up, dude. Totally made up.
I believe it.
We had we had talked about this too a little bit off the air. Was like you'll hear in a minute. I think I do a weather update in the audio that I have. But our meteorologist, who was Lou Rosenberg, I had never met the guy, and it was I don't even know who he was, where they got their weather from. But he was the staff meteorologist, but he was not on staff. Let's put it that way. So it was. There was a lot of tricks behind that radio station, and how you just kind of fudge things every once in a while to make it work. I do remember too about those cart machines when you had a stack of carts, to play for your next break. And there would be one, like, the promos would have 3 or 4 tracks on there. Some would have just maybe 2. But sometimes when you get to that last track that's on that cart, it would take a lot longer for it to cue back up to the next, to the beginning of the tape. So you're waiting and you're waiting. I think was it the green button that was the stop and the yellow was go, or well, actually no, green would be go, yellow would be to stop the cart. So if it was taking too long for it to cue back up, so you could pull it out, you had to hit the stop button, pull it out, put your next cart in there, and then remember to go back and put that cart back in there so it would cue back up for the next person. It was chaotic at some points.
Oh yeah,
and you had to. It was a skill.
Oh, it was
everything to get through there and to not get any dead air, and it was a skill.
It was. I'm actually looking for something to see if I still have it. It must not be here.
Okay.
Anyway, this middle one, I don't know if you can really see it very well. You see this little tab here?
I don't see where you're pointing.
Okay.
There we go. I see you.
So this middle cart machine, there was this guide here. That guide was to keep you, your regular carts level, and so it would made up to the sensor. This is the Q sensor over here, and the right one was actually what was red, your tape reader. But the middle one, this was gone. We had one. That's right. One huge cart that we did once a year. I don't think it was Christmas, but it might have been. I always ask, why is this one missing? And no one ever really explained to me until like 4 months later. Bob said, "Oh, that's because we run this huge cart that goes in there." And I'm trying to find. I had a picture of it actually, not one from the studio, but I had a picture that I found off of
the bigger cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that now. I couldn't tell you what it was used for, but yeah. So you had your 8-track size cart, which we had shown you before, and then this one was about double the size. So, well, do you want to go into some of our goodies now, since we're talking AM?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still looking for that cart. So just before we venture on, even though we've seen it, especially in the first jobs, this is the rack that was sat behind us. Mm-hmm. And when I'm pointing behind me, that's exactly what it was. We stood right here. This rack was literally right behind us. So we had the remote control to the control tower right here. No idea what this crap was. Actually, this was your emergency, the EBS back in the day. I never
That's right.
used it. I never.
Yes. Trying to remember. I think I do remember. That was more automatic on how it worked. You maybe just flipped a switch and it did the emergency broadcast system was what you're talking about there, EBS.
Right.
So you hear the beep go across your airwaves, and this is a test. This is only a test.
That's it.
And you had to do it. I want to say like once a week.
Yeah, it was a weekly thing, and then they changed
different times, I think, too. I don't remember, but I think you're right. I think that was the EBS controls.
But anyway, so this was just, like I said, this is the reel that I picked on Jason about at the first jobs. This is where Paul Harvey sat.
Right.
This is the Telex. This was our hybrid. So if they ever did a call in to the show, they could call you. Your caller could be recorded. Then at the very bottom, this is actually skewed. This should be shoved up a little bit better. But this is the patch panels that I said about. We could quite literally patch anything, and this is how I patched simulcast. This is how when I copied all the liners, all the cables run. Everything runs here. Mm-hmm. So if I interrupt it by punching a cable in here, it goes from this, instead of going from the cart machine to the board, it goes from cart machine to wherever I route it, which would be, to the, not the production room. Try to get, I'm looking down inside the cart machine, the rack. That's what I want to do. To this player.
You're trying to get to the cassette.
So we made fun of Big Band Jump. It was on this cassette player right here. But like I said, I patch around and put everything into the cassette player so we could record.
That's right. Yep.
All the liners. Or right here was a little pitch control. That's what I messed with all the time. So yeah, this was our booth. Like I tried to do it more detail. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jason said he was blown away on the text. I texted him this photo, and he goes, "Dude, you really remember a lot." I said, "Yeah, I do." Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it's like spot on. And we did work there for a year and a half, so you would think you remember everything, but you remembered a lot more than I would have. Well, I would say mainly outside of the AM room, because that's where we spent most of our time in there. But you were all over the place.
Oh, I was. I don't know if you could see this very well. Here's what I was trying to find. I thought I had a better picture. So here's an 8-track. This right here is an 8-track cassette. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Carts were different. I mean, like Bob said in the interview, these are pressure fed. This is a pressure that feeds on this to run your 8-track. Up here, this is your cart. There's an actual wheel that comes through this hole here and shoves up against the tape, and then it shoves the tape around. Mm-hmm. These are the different sizes that I was trying to find for you, Jason.
Go. Yeah.
This is our standard cart size. This was the beast we would put in there, I think.
I don't bigger than that. Holy cow.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a big one. It sounded really bad. Sorry. But yeah. This was, I can't remember, it was like a 3 or 6 minute whatever show, Christmas story. I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. But the room we're looking in right now, we had this, we call it a bulk eraser, but this is how we erased the carts.
Yes.
So that we could record them for whatever, news or liners or whatever.
I would erase my mixtapes in there too when I'm ready to record another one.
Same here.
it's basically a huge magnet, and magnets, I don't know how the whole, that all works, but you turned it on and that magnet, you run your tape up against it and it would just basically erase everything that you put on there.
But it would make it move. It was so powerful. You'd flutter a little bit.
It would vibrate. Yeah.
So
crazy.
This is our production room. We've already hit on this. I just put it up here for kicks and grins. Like I said, I did this way. I tried to get it as close to a little bit more detail as I could, so that for this particular show, so we could see, you, the viewer, could see what we dealt with. I mean, this is our production room. This is what Jason did over his recording. And this, it now makes sense. I can remember this now. This is our mono carton recorder for the AM booth. This was our stereo for the FM.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is our little timer cue speaker. Not that we really used it much.
Yeah, I remember.
And over here.
That's where I'd come in. The first thing I would do in the morning when I was there for my internship was you grab the stories off the AP, you grab all the fax reports, and you went in there and you wrote your news stories for the day, and you'll hear, I've got a news report that I can play that actually from a demo tape I had from college. I had to prove that I was actually, interning there and doing work, and
right.
So I would go in there, write the stories. Bob would say yay or nay on which ones, and after writing them, and then you basically have these little slips of paper that go with you wherever you need to. Mainly they just sat in the AM room because that's where we did mainly all the news, but you would do your news updates in the production room to send to the FM for those, and everything in the AM was pretty much live for news. So you kept them in there, but you would do your updates in the morning for throughout the day to put on the digital, the automation,
right,
for FM.
And this is a picture of our production room here, and the newsroom. Mm-hmm. This is that AP wire that sat in the corner with the charcoal burn or whatever that was up there in the wall. So I put this in. Jason, I don't know if you remember this. I don't think you were there when we changed out from the old automation system. They had a rack, probably a lot smaller, but that sat over here on this wall. This rack was full of the carts for the different DJs for our automated system. And this is what we have to change out. That's what I talked about Bob with. We'd have to remember, Johnny Holiday's coming up at 6 o'clock or whatever. And then we would go over to this when I figured this thing out.
You'd go over to the FM room.
No, it actually didn't sit in the FM room.
Or was it in the satellite room?
Nope, neither. Let me get out of whatever I'm doing. Come on over. I feel like we're going on a roller coaster. There's the red door. So all our doors were red. I did this on here. If I put a door on my little drawing anywhere else, it completely closes off the room.
Gotcha.
So I'm trying. I really am. I don't know if you can really see this, make this out. So
yes. That carousel.
There's the carousel that we once had. It actually sat over here. This is not ours. And that's what I was trying to say. I had a brain fart in the last episode. I said, this is our automation room, but not really our automation. That's true. This is not the picture from our automation. I didn't take a picture of it. This carousel, though, system sat right next to this original rack, which is this is a picture of the WCPA stuff. This is where Johnny Holiday sat. I think this was your spare music when we had.
Yes. There was I don't know how many minutes of just music that was on there you could use if you needed it. Bob would let me use it if I wanted to on that shift I would pull right before the football games that I talked about. Mm-hmm. If I didn't want to do records, I could have pulled music off of the reel-to-reel there, and it fed into the AM board.
Right. So
yeah.
So the carousel was next. Then there was another, just one. It was, I think, something like this. This is the reel-to-reel that he was talking about, where the FM originally was automated. So it has a reel-to-reel playing the songs, and it's all controlled with this little, set of racks basically for computers. So one of these would be a drawer. No kidding, a drawer. You pull out a drawer, take out the old liner for the last DJ, Michael. There's a guy, Michael, comes to my mind. Anyway, so you pull out him, put that card away, take Johnny Wolf, and throw it in there, close the drawer. What was funny, though, is every now and then he'd have someone filling in for him. So it wouldn't be Johnny Holiday, it'd be Joe Schmo filling in for Johnny Holiday. You're listening to QAX, with me, Johnny Holiday, or Johnny Wolf. So yeah, that's what it was. All of them had a window. That's why I included all the windows.
Yeah.
And then
each.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying there was a window into each room. So, except for there was the production room had one to the AM.
Production had one to the AM, and then one to there was FM to this one, but you really never saw.
Right.
But then this is our FM studio that we've talked about. This is where our rack over there sat. I didn't fill it in. I didn't take pictures of it. But that's where it sat. And try to do this. I did not include CJ in this one. But if you want to see CJ, go to our first jobs. So there was a record player right here. You can see an edge of it right here.
Mm-hmm.
But then we ran mostly on these CD players.
Right.
There's one of the cart machines. This is how they recorded the callers when they called in and I don't know, chatting about whatever topic.
Requests.
Yeah. And then this is our working clock for the shows. And then here's the phone that I was talking about with Jason. The lights are right here.
Mm-hmm.
And, he just broadcasted from this little booth. We talked about the music. These were all the monthly subscriptions right here.
Yeah.
Then we had our music library, singles or sometimes albums all together.
There were some songs on cart too. I remember for some reason
Friday. There was a Friday cart that they'd always play on Friday nights, and I was stupid and never recorded it. But it was every songwriter that had Friday in their song. So,
yes.
George Jones, finally Friday.
I remember.
Whatever else.
Yeah. Friday, I'm in love. Yes, I remember that. Holy cow.
Yeah. And then, of course, I took a picture of the CD rack. I don't know why, but I did. And here it is. So that was our FM room. You can see that the guy, whoever had to sit in this side, was kind of cramped. There was not much space. You can see their mic over here whenever they had a guest or do you remember, this is probably an embarrassing moment for both Meg and CJ, but you remember this because you're the one that told me this story. Our what do you call it? Our motto for QYX was Clearfield County's biggest hits. And by mistake, well, maybe it was on purpose, but I think on mistake, CJ sitting in there, Clearfield County's biggest hits, QYX 93.5. And it sounded more like tits, not hits. So,
yeah, and Meg is standing right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Meg was standing right there. They had their little chat. So,
and I think it came to the point where he was doing that on purpose on the air. He would do it fast enough that you couldn't, differentiate the two. But if you listened to him enough, you're like, oh my gosh, CJ. I can't believe you just did that on the air.
Yeah. So back to, I don't know if I disappeared, but yeah, I'm back to us. This was our studio. This is where we had, for me, it was probably the most fun job I've had. Military's been great and awesome, but I don't know, man. There's part of me that wants to go back to my roots. In doing so, and I've told that I was going to keep it a surprise, but Jason already saw it. because I can't keep my big mouth shut. Back behind here, although it's not the identical cousin or identical unit, this is a cart machine that I recently purchased. And this is essentially what you would do. You could tie it to a remote control switch, like what was on the AM board, AM Pro, or you get the button. And that's our news bed.
Yep.
That was our FM news bed, if you remember. QYX information update.
Yeah, it might be a good time for me to do my update.
It is. It'd be a great time.
Okay.
But yeah, I picked this up, and Jason, you're going to be the first one to know. Julie's really going to hate me because it did get shipped.
You got the board.
I finally, a little pricier than I wanted it to, but I can't pass it up. So I have on the way an AM Pro board, and I don't know where I'll put it. It'll probably end up being in my shed for a little bit. But I plan to hook it up at some point and do my man cave, which I've never had a dream of before. My man cave will turn into a replica WCPA studio at some point. So, sorry I stole your thunder, but now it's your turn.
That's awesome. Wow. I can't believe you got it. So yeah,
I did measure though. I did measure this desk. I don't know if it'd be worth putting it in here or not. My laptop would probably be like sitting up here now. But I was thinking about putting it here on the desk, move everything up, and running it, seeing how I like it. But that thing's by itself. I looked at the specs. This thing's 64 pounds by itself. And then I have to lug it down into the basement to put it on this desk. And I'm like, I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
So it's demo time, right?
Yes. I have managed to find my Walkman, and I popped the cassette in and tied the Walkman into my laptop. So I've got hopefully you'll be able to hear it. I've got a news update I did. This would have been back in, when did I intern there? It might have been 98 or 99 when I actually did the internship. So here we go. See if you can, if you don't hear this, stop me, but you should be able to hear it.
Okay.
QYX 93 information update. State College Police are looking for the person responsible for damage of a cement wall that was knocked down Monday at 5:30 p.m. at a bank on South Atherton Street. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact police. A 6-person jury at a Center County coroner's inquest yesterday ruled the shooting of a Milesburg man was justifiable homicide. It is now up to Center County District Attorney Ray Grecar whether to charge Louise Manginel in the death of her husband last February. It took the jury only 2 hours to deliberate following 2 days of testimony. The 47-year-old former Milesburg postmaster allegedly shot John Weber after he put a gun in her mouth and threatened to kill her and her 3 children. Jeez. Lawrence Township Police responded to a one-vehicle accident yesterday afternoon around 3:15. A vehicle operated by John Wiedeffer of Clearfield was traveling west on Wolf Run Road when the operator lost control on a curve and struck a pole. There are no injuries reported. The vehicle sustained minor damage. Clearfield Borough Police responded to a 3-vehicle accident last night around 5 p.m. at the intersection of East Cherry and South 3rd Streets. The mishap involved vehicles driven by Walter Bonnell and Joseph Ivanko of Clearfield and Regina Vogel of Kerwinsville. Ivanko was treated and released from Clearfield Hospital. State police at Clearfield and fire company volunteers were called out this morning to find a missing person in the woods from Greenwood Camp to Rockton Mountain. There was no information on the person being sought by the search and rescue teams. The Red Cross disaster relief van was called to the scene early this morning. QYX weather, partly cloudy, breezy, and warm and humid today, with a few scattered showers or thunderstorms, high in the 80s. Tonight, mostly cloudy and cool, with showers likely, a low of around 60, and partly cloudy, warm, and humid tomorrow, with a chance of scattered showers, high Thursday, in the 80s. You're up to date. I'm Jason Gross.
Applaud, applaud.
So we had a concrete wall that fell down that they were looking for somebody for.
We had a guy putting his gun into the girl's mouth.
God.
And then Jason's forecast was awesome. It was like, it might be cloudy, it might be humid, it might be this, might be that, with, showers tonight.
Well, and then the accident. So we were all about, and the missing person in the woods somewhere. Okay, so you had, missing persons. We were all about the accidents. Every news report seemed to have an accident. And then, once in a while you get a decent story or crazy story like that one was, where it was, judicial stuff that you would, send across. But so there's your update.
And like Jason said before, towards the end of our first jobs, we would get our, if it wasn't on the AP News wire, which was more national news, we got it through fax. And we had the fax machine. It was hilarious because we even in that AM booth, it was never truly soundproof. So you could hear the fax machine kick on. You hear the scream, screaming of tones. Oh, we got news. It was for us, at least for me, it was more like, oh, I got something else to do besides wait for 12 minutes for play the liner. So
it was funny, the faxes that would come in, it was just somebody handwriting something that happened that day and shoving it in a fax machine. There was an accident on Route 322, no injuries, and then you got to make a story out of that, or something. It was just very little information. You had to kind of stretch it out to make it an actual story to read on the air. It was ridiculous, really. But
and for you, it was easier because you could run it into Bob and say, "Do you want this or no?" For me, we would just pile it up and put it on the production desk, and it was for him to sort out.
Right.
But that's how we did it. So, are we having a battle of the so-called demo tapes?
Go for it. If you've got something. Well, you got everything.
And it sucks. I'll be honest. Jason wins this one hands down because I guess I didn't mix the audio very well. But I worked at second radio station, WINU. They were big into, we were very close to St. Louis. But because we were on the Illinois side, big, Bulls, Cubs, whatever other Chicago stuff there was, we did it. So this is Chicago Bulls, and I cut some of the stuff out, but here it is.
Go for it.
You're listening to Chicago Bulls basketball. This is the place for Chicago Bulls basketball.
On your sports station, WINU.
This is your home for Chicago Bulls basketball.
On WINU, Highland.
Your trademark of the Chrysler Corporation. Cheap. There's only one.
See your local Jeep and Eagle dealers.
This is the place for Chicago Bulls basketball.
WINU, Highland.
So that...
Your network. You're listening to Rise Ears and Entertainment Sports of the metro area. This is...
I do have one spot.
Okay.
On Saturday, November 23rd, you are invited to the 27th Annual Grant Fork Men's Fellowship Sausage Supper. Enjoy a great dinner to include homemade pies, UFOs, country corner, and other homemade goodies. Prices for adults is $6. Children eat for $2. Join the fun November 23rd at Grant Fork United Church of Christ in Grant Fork, Illinois, between 3 and 8 p.m. For advanced orders, please call 654-3150 or 675-3307.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was, I guess that's your radio voice kicking in there, but you're go get the sausage supper. And
I was trying. That was one of my first production jobs that I thought about actually recording. I'm sure I've done a few, but we did. That was the nice thing. So we indicated in first jobs that at least for me and Deidre and Michelle, that was the other girl. That was the other girl's name. It was their sisters, Michelle and Deidre. She was the one that taught me a lot. Michelle did, and but anyway, they all were surprised because, Jason is able to get on the air and none of us are allowed. So we weren't allowed to talk because we weren't full-time staff. But at WINU, the guy, I guess we're transitioning, but he was a dentist. Him and his buddy dentists decided they wanted to say, I own a radio station. So they went out and bought one. Little AM, little station, nothing to it really. And the guy was, I guess how it came down, at least the way the guy told me, was they both bought it, and then the other guy basically bailed out and says, well, we bought it, you run it. Okay. Dennis had no clue about radio. This was just an investment thing. So it started being a haphazard thing. They had a guy that played pseudo DJ and news in the morning, and then after that, it was just haphazard however it went down. So you might be listening to news. Bloomberg is where we got our news. You'd hear Bloomberg news typically at the top of the hour. You might hear sports. The next hour, you might hear music. And it would be for 15 minutes. It wouldn't be like for a full hour. It would be for 15 minutes.
Oh my
Then you have a spot. Then it would be like a sports update of some sort, whether national or local. Then it might be the farm show. And then it would change again and change again. It was so inconsistent. So I went in there and actually, I did a lot of stuff and apologized later with how I ran it. So for 1 hour, I organized it to like mostly news. Next hour was mostly music, like a top of the hour news break or something. But the farm shows were most of the farm shows were 1 minute spots. So they're paying us. So I just threw it in there. But I would actually put them all together. So he's like, hey, our radio station is starting to sound good. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm just trying to organize it better because
it sucks.
Well, I think I can't remember exactly how I worded it. I was so young and naive. I was thinking I was going to get fired because I did it. So I probably came out with, well, I was just trying something, trying to clean it up, make it look a little more professional. And he goes, good job. And then it wasn't too long after that. I'm running a Chicago Bulls. I think it was a Bulls game, and it ended at like 10:20. And we were always taught to do a joiner and fill until we hit a spot or something like that. At least that's what I was taught at WCPA. So I'm like, man, I'm not going to have anything for 10 minutes. So I just started playing music, and it was all, this one was all cart. So I played nothing but, Michael Jackson or whatever was on the carts. And that was fun because I had to keep changing out carts for that. But I did that. I'm like, it's 10:30. Who's listening? Boss ain't listening. Screw it. I'm DJing for another half hour. So, I just DJ'd for. The next day he comes in while I'm on duty. And he says, "Hey, the Jones Radio Network we typically use sounded really awesome last night. It sounded a lot better than it usually does." Then I heard our own infamous WB at the mic. Crap. Here comes the firing. He goes, if I could pay you to stay on the clock overnight, I would, because you do a far better job than my automation stuff. Like, oh, that's a good thing. So he's like, I think I'm going to move you up to production supervisor. I can't pay it more, but I'm going to make you that. Oh, okay. So I was allowed to start making spots. I was allowed to do like these little things, and I had fun. And then we hired I'm not trying to take over your.
No, keep going.
I'm on the WINU kick. So we had a golf talk show. No offense to Dan Applitus. You are a very awesome guy, but snooze fest is what it was for me. And we got chewed out big time by like 3 listeners, which I didn't know we had 3 listeners. It sounds so bad, but 880, an AM station out of the BFE, who's listening? So, anyway, so I started doing this. Well, I got to do the share so it plays through. But I started doing this to spice up his golf talk. Whoops, wrong button. Maybe. Is it not coming through?
There we go.
So I listened to this throughout the whole night. Sorry. Too loud?
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you're saying.
Oh, sorry.
All I heard was Halloween episode.
Oh, me and my mixing. I can't tell if my levels. So that little clip is "Nightmare on My Street" by Fresh Prince, Jazzy Jeff. I literally did that during our Halloween special, and he liked it so much he kept asking me to keep it going throughout the entire episode. But we had no loop, so I was literally hitting the cart machine. No, I think it was a tape player, and physically rewind. Oh my gosh! Because he liked it so much. So I played it. He loved it. We actually had more listeners. He even said we had more listeners because I added that to the show.
That's crazy. That's crazy, dude.
But yeah, it was. We had fun. I still have a Chicago Bulls we call it script, or Cubs. I have a Cubs script, and then all the memorabilia. I still have the folder for the ESPN, which is where of course now I can't see it now. I have the clock in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. And there's the Cubs log. I don't know if you'll really be able to see this very well. But yeah, this is my Cubs log. I took a copy. Our letter, like you, I sold the letterhead.
Gotcha. Now, I don't have, actually, what I have is not the letterhead. Because I have a little scrapbook here and I put some WCPA stuff in here, which is the picture of the Q Cruiser, if I can find that.
Yeah, please.
There it is. So I got a picture of the Q Cruiser there. You can see that.
Nice. And
then up here is the logo for 900 CPA and WQYX 93.5 Energy FM is what it says. That's actually a sticker.
Huh.
It's a label backing. So, and I don't know. I want to say I cut it out of something, but maybe not. But it's sticker back. So that's pretty much all the memorabilia I have.
Well, so
two things.
Well, with me, we had an engineer come up. He had been hired to clean up the station because it was just a rat's nest is how the studio looked. I'm trying to find the picture of it right now. Maybe this will be a good image of it. My light's probably in the way. So this was what our studio looked like, if you can really make it out. It was just monitors and junk all lined up, and then we had a cat that lived there. His name was AM, and he always stole my dinner. I get something from the chow hall, come up, and I just set it down, open it up, go to hit a commercial, food was gone.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. And then, where'd it go? This was our night of wiring it. This was like 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. Just throwing it all on the ground. And then we have, where's the cleanup page? We have a cleanup picture somewhere of it. But it turned out being a lot nicer. This is the tower. I don't know if you really can make these out.
Somewhat.
There's actually 4 towers that sat behind there. And I got scared the first night I was there. Or one of the first nights I was there. Oh, the tornado night. We had a tornado night. And when I went for the job interview, the guy said, so how'd you learn about being in the radio business or something like that? And I said, I'm just interested. I used to do it. I want to do it. I literally, how I got the job, I called around to all the local radio stations in the Yellow Pages. Okay, do you need a board op? And that's exactly what I said.
No kidding.
And the guy said, yeah, how'd you know? So, here it is. This is how we cleaned it up.
It looks a lot better.
A lot better. So, but yeah, we sorry. So anyway, the guy that did this, the engineer, he said, you want to learn about the wirings and ins and outs. I said, yeah, I'd love to be able to hook up sounds, not the sound system, the radio station, and learn about it. He goes, if you don't mind pulling an all-nighter, let's go. I said, all right. So we put on automation, which ran off of a server, and it ran off in the next room, and we just had fun with it. We had wires, and you saw the equipment all lined up, and just really reorganized it. And our console was it was a makeshift console. It was a couple wood folding tables. That was our board, our desk, and it worked out pretty well as far as it did what it did.
So what happened with the tornado night?
Oh, tornado! Sorry. So he was telling me while we were in the interview that the station had just had a fire that year prior because one of the lightning struck one of the towers and set the building on fire. So they were able to extinguish it, but they had to go get a new transmitter. And until the insurance or whatever rebuilt the radio station, they had to go and I guess they were originally sitting in a trailer in the back, like an old tractor trailer in the back. That was radio station until they got the building back.
Oh, wow. So
the guy's office was it looked like the tornado hit his office. So he said, forgive me because, we're still cleaning up from our fire. I'm like, huh? Fire? What? Oh yeah, lightning struck the tower back there. And it wasn't too short after that. Here comes tornado season. Don't you think I was scared?
Yeah.
Your blank. I remember panicking. That was the first time I opened the mic on air. And I swear I was on loop. In my brain, I was on loop because I kept saying, tornado's coming and it looks like it's within about 5 minutes or so according to the radar. And, the safest place is, basement or if you don't have one, center. And, just be careful out there. Keep listening to us and we'll be back. Play one song. Do the same thing.
Over again.
I was scared poopless because I thought we were going to get struck by lightning.
Wow.
Because I'd never dealt with. We talked about it in which episode was it that we talked about our tornado in Parker Dam?
Memory Jogger. The school memories.
School memories.
Yeah.
So that was the only one, and to me, we were on the wings, the outer wings of it when it happened, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
When I find out I'm in Tornado Alley, I'm okay. Here we are, and I have 4 big lightning rods out in the backyard. Yeah. But
yikes.
It was all good. I like working there. I left because new management bought it, and the new management they were trying experiments, and then they turned and they'd set up a Saturday schedule all on automation, and failed to tell me that they did that. And I said, well, what am I here for? I mean, I've driven all the way out here to run the station, and I can't do it. So they called back and basically said, well, why don't you just work on the computers, hook up the computers like you said you might be able to do. I said, well, this is old equipment. I don't know if I can really do it. And then I literally wrote, I'm resigning. If you're going to take my hours, take my job, I'm resigning. Then they tried to turn around and blame me because they had dead air for 2 hours. They didn't. That was not me. They programmed it that way, so someone didn't program it right.
Yikes.
So yeah, they tried to turn it around on me.
Yikes.
That was the big thing there. That was my 2 big jobs in radio, QYX and WINU. We didn't have a car. I did go on one remote with the guy, and the remote was not a remote. He took a tape recorder with him and a little microphone, and that was.
And brought the tape back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a live remote, but it is remote.
Yeah. So for fun, the green screen that I put up on in the room. I don't know if you really can make it out. Where am I? So we had a green screen monocolor automation when we did have the old rack mount system. Get through the wall. there's Bob. I keep putting him up as a mural. Because to me, that was his booth. I said it in the first jobs. That was his booth. And that's him for his Golden Oldies show that he does on Sunday mornings there. And there's his faders that we've talked about versus the round pots that we typically use. Mm-hmm. If I can get the angle right. There it is. So we had this green screen up here. And this was our automation. It was a schedule, just like we've seen on our little script we do. And that's how you knew to go advance forward or backward or if we were in time. And there were 3 buttons that sat right next to the far right cart machine. And that's how you advanced it. But I took this, just because it was green screen and small, found a Apple Q chess game on it.
Nice. So. Yeah, that was before I was there. It was all automation on the Digilink.
Yeah.
I think when I started there. So I didn't have to mess with any of those carts. And I just got to listen to the FM station there in the AM and that little black speaker off to the right there by the turntables. And one thing I do remember about QIX and that satellite that they used, which was, I think, out of Texas.
Yep.
Was they had the opportunity at the top of the hour to play commercials right before the ID. And so you had to have a 4-minute block in there of commercials, or you just kept it on the network and play a song. So you knew that, and it was the songs would be in rotation because they had to be exactly 4 minutes or close to 4 minutes to cover for the commercials if you weren't playing commercials there. So it messed with me because at the top of the hour, they had like maybe a dozen songs, it seemed like, that would be there. So you knew what was like actually 4 minutes. Like, Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone by Glass Tiger. That was one. When that came on, I knew it was like 4 minutes to go to the top of the hour because they needed a song that would fit in there. So these, I don't know, there's several of those. I won't go into the whole list that I have in my head of 4-minute songs. The songs that I know are exactly 4 minutes just because they were going to fit in there. So
right.
that was one of those quirky things from QIX that sticks out to me. And when I hear one of those songs on the radio, I'm like, oh, it's 4 minutes to the top of the hour.
So I didn't realize I scanned these in. This is the picture of the studio, the WINU studio. Okay. This is our Bloomberg sat feed. This showed the weather. That's how I would say that we were having tornadoes or whatever. This is also how I cheated. Actually, it was these. These were the Bloomberg ones. This is our radar. This is how I cheated. The boss would always come in and ask me, what's the score of the Bulls? I don't know. Well, you're listening to the Bulls. You're running the spots. I'm like, exactly. I'm running the spots. I really don't care. How are you not listening? I tried to explain to him my radio ear concept. He didn't like that. So after a while, I could punch in and get the sports score be like 14-3. And he's listening to it too. So he's just as, kind of ignorant as I am. He walked in. What's the Bulls? It's 14-3. Oh, good game. Okay. Well, whatever. This was I'll have to pop it up on the other one. This is our Q speaker on this one, on this board. Mm-hmm. On WCPA, I don't know if I can do this without majorly screwing it up. We kept saying it was underneath the desk. And I tried to include it right there. I don't know if you can really make it out. But there was a Q speaker, that's about where it sat when we would get something from Bob saying, oh, throw me a 30, 60, whatever he wanted. Just more of the studio. There's all 3 of the 4 antennas.
My screen hasn't refreshed.
No?
No, I'm still on your Illinois station screen picture. Weird.
Let me stop.
I don't know if there's a way for me to refresh or not.
How about now? Did it refresh?
I've got a blank screen now. Come on, Skype.
Yeah, really. I just turned it off. Nothing?
I got nothing.
Do you have me? Because I turned
I've
off.
got you.
Okay,
Yeah, I've got
I turned off the screen share.
No, it was just when the screen share was up, it was black.
Okay, now I just popped it back up. No?
Black.
Jeez.
Black screen. I don't know what's going on. Do you have an error? Do you show an error at the top?
No. Sorry, gang.
It's all right. Well, anyway, let me go into. Oh, look at that! Yes. A little bit of my memories from working in college.
Okay, yeah.
I actually just found a picture. I might be able to share this of the station, at least the outside of the station. I had a good friend of mine he was a married student. He was the manager of the station, the student station, when I started college there. I went to Toccoa Falls College in Toccoa, Georgia, a small little school in the Northeast Mountains there. And he was the station manager, and we've kept in touch over the years some. We both had a love for the 80s back then, pined for the 80s. And so we've always been on the same kind of wavelength as far as music and everything goes. And out of the blue, I got a message from him on Facebook about he said he had something for me. He needed to send it to me. So I gave him my address, and he just sent it to me, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And it's this. It's a stone. It's actual part of the building because they ripped it down.
Oh, wow.
So the station I worked at, the student station, is no more. I think they've removed the broadcasting program altogether. But I don't know if you can see that or not. There's the side of the building where we had the call letters.
There it is, yeah.
89.7 FM, so we were a non-commercial station. And I think it broadcasted maybe 5 miles. I don't know. It was barely into town, and on the other side of town, we could pick it up. So it wasn't I don't even know how many wattage it was. It wasn't 10,000. I know that much, or anything large, but it was just part of a building that we shared with the music department, because there was like a small place where they would perform, and you had like stadium seating. It was, I don't know, maybe 10 rows high. So it was just like a small little arena there, and then on the other side was the station. So there was a small production room there, and then the actual studio itself. And there was one small little window that you could look outside, basically where you walked into the building, so you could see people walking in and out. This is really all you had in there. It was almost like a dungeon. But it was fun. We were on the cusp of like the digital era, so we still got, like, I remember our professor making us cut and splice reel-to-reel tape. Like, he read a passage out of the Bible and just put in a bunch of ums and ahs and, screwed it up. And we had to go back and patch it, with the razor blade and tape, and oh my gosh. That was a fun project. And then we had another project where we had to pick a business in town and do a multi-track commercial for it. So we had these tapes. They were about the size of like camcorder tapes. They were kind of smaller than an actual cassette. And you could, the system we had, you could record, I think, up to 8 tracks. So you could, you had your voice on one track, and then you had some sound effects or something on another, and you had music on another. and you had to kind of marry them all together. And that was one project I remember doing. And then we were a 24-hour-a-day station, and for the overnights, we actually recorded like a 6-hour block when we knew, because we did 1-hour shifts basically throughout the day. And when we had 6 people lined up to do 6 hours, we actually recorded, it was on like a VHS tape. And we'd pop the tape in, record for 6 hours, and that was our overnight. So our automation was a VCR.
It worked.
And it worked. Yeah, it did work. So we still did not have a computer in the studio when I graduated there in 2000. And when I went back, I think I went back for homecoming. It was maybe a year or two after I graduated. A lot had changed. They had a actual computer screen in there, and it was more professional looking. We had a wall of CDs behind us, and that was pretty much all we had. If you guys are into Christian music, I went to school with Aaron Schust, if you know him.
Yeah.
He, what is the big song that he came out with? Crap. Anyway.
The old choir?
No, but anyway, I went to school with him, and he actually cut his first CD in our production studio, and we played one of the songs off of that on the student station, just for giggles, really, because since he, was musically talented enough and cut that CD, we're like, well, we'll play some songs on there, and so that's something that I got a really good kick out of. But it was like WCPA or anywhere else, where there's a bunch of quirks that I kind of associate with that. Like, we had a song from the group Whiteheart that was called "The River Will Flow," and it was like 5.5 minutes.
I have that song, I think.
And when you play that song, when we heard that song on the air, we knew somebody was taking a bathroom break. That was our "The River Will Flow." That was our bathroom break song.
Nice. I have Whiteheart. There's that one. I have Silhouette.
Silhouette, yeah, that was. I think we had the greatest hits on that CD.
Aaron Schust, he played "My Hope Is in You," "My Savior, My God."
"My Savior, My God" was one of the ones that I think he kind of went big with. But this was before those albums even hit. It was like his first demo album. So that's pretty cool tie-in to working at the WTXR. We actually got our call letters when I was there. I think I was assistant manager at the time, and we had applied for the license or whatever. And I don't know, we puzzled for years, it seemed like, over what we could do with TXR. And our mascot was the Eagles. So we went with Eagle. We were Eagle 89. And that was thanks to our professor. He came up with that one. Let's just keep it simple, and we'll use the mascot. So we were Eagle 89. I actually have some cuts. Let me go ahead and play some for you.
Okay.
From my college days. I've got basically just a couple transitions between songs, and I do have one music promo that I cut and played on the air. So here you go. You can hear me being Mr. DJ at the college station. I hope. Come on. Playing the new stuff from your favorite Christian artist. We are the new Eagle 89. That was Israel with Against the Stream. Also heard in there was Rebecca St. James off her first CD. It's called Everything I Do. Hope you're having a terrific Saturday night. I know I'm having a lot of fun giving you the best in Christian contemporary music. Let's keep it rolling now. Here is Sherry Kagi with her very latest.
This is called The Love of God. You're listening to the new Eagle 89.
So I feel like I was really rushing stuff back then. Here's another one.
The new Eagle 89 Toccoa's music station, and the latest from Brian Duncan. Summing up what the weather's been the past couple of days. Nothing but blue skies. Finally got a chance to wash my car for the first time in a while today. I did find out there was some blue underneath that brown. So, also heard in there was the latest from Aaron O'Donnell. Be still and now. 32 minutes past 10 o'clock on your Saturday night. Right now here on the new Eagle 89, here's Al Denson, Living in the Light of Your Love, on the new Eagle 89.
Not too many, I guess, breather gas, as you're talking.
Yeah, it was real quick. Okay, here's the final thing. This is the promo I did for some of the music.
When you want the latest contemporary Christian music, tune in to the new Eagle 89. Jenny Varnado.
These are the colors of truth. These are the colors of truth.
Brian Duncan.
There's still a plan I can't see after this day is gone.
Susan Ashton. The new Eagle 89, Toccoa's first choice for the latest contemporary Christian music.
So there's the promo.
The one, I'm trying to punch it up real quick. The one sounds like you stole something from QYX. Let me see if I can.
Go ahead.
I think it's this one. Oh.
Your screen share.
Your screen share. Did it come across?
Mm-mm.
There it is. Can you see the booth?
I've still got black screen from you.
That's BS.
American made. Clearfield County's biggest hit, WQYX.
That's what that sounds like. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, we had I think it was just a couple CDs or something for effects, and those were both pulled off of that CD. And then I did the old, echo or kind of distortion with the voice to, at the beginning of that, the beginning and ending of the promo, kind of fool with the voice a little bit. But yeah, yeah, I can't see a thing, dude. I'm sorry.
I want to show the Q speaker, which is nothing major. It's just a speaker.
It just might be me, so go ahead and punch it up if you want to.
I've already had it up. Do you see the picture of the station now?
I'm getting nothing from you, man. I'm getting black screen.
Well, if your viewers can see this, if he's not seeing it, I don't think you are. But in the chance that you are, this is the station itself with three of the four antennas in the back, and there I have that's my green Dodge Dakota there in front. And these are just pictures rambling through of what the studio looked like. No kidding. This is the production room. But no kidding, there
we go.
Did you see it?
Just a glimpse, yeah.
Oh, now you see. Let me see. How about now?
Okay, I see it now, yeah.
That's the transmitter. This is our transmitter, which was right down the hall. This is our production room. And this board changed a couple times. They changed this board out a couple I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other board. This is the board we originally had, then we switched out to that one. This is the new cleaned up room. Our rack that we had, which was, you could see, just junk.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth tower I was trying to get with the three here.
Mm-hmm.
And then my truck. You remember my Dodge Dakota?
Oh, yeah.
I still remember it. I missed that truck.
I got a picture of you with it at my dad's trailer.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere.
Oh, there's Tiffany. Told you I had this. This is when she came to Clearfield, and that's the concert I didn't go to that I really wanted to do.
Here we go. I got one for you. In my, this was, I think in 1992, Huey Lewis came to the fair, and I went. So I got I pulled out just clips from the newspaper. I actually got my ticket stub there. Actually, no, 95. August 4th of 1995.
Nice.
Saw Huey Lewis.
So what I was saying about the one job, they updated our computer software, but not the hardware.
Uh-huh.
This software took a lot longer for it to work, our automation and whatever, and this is how all our commercials were played, liners, whatever. The stupid thing stops right before I have to play a commercial. Froze up. Windows 3.1, not even 95, it was 3.1, locked up on me. And I'm itching, getting close to I don't think we even had a technical difficulties card. I think we had just music. Getting ready to play it, and I guess I was pissed off. I remember kicking the tower with my foot. It played it right on cue.
Nice.
So, ever since then, I've been using that method. It doesn't really work much, but
Yeah, why not?
But that's been our discussion of radio. Is there anything else that you can come that?
Just bouncing off my experience there at the college station. It was fun being a manager, and we played contemporary music, I was saying there in the little demos that I had. So it was more or less just kind of soft stuff, adult contemporary. And while I was there, we were able to convince first the professors, and then the kind of managers or the, directors of the college to let us play some hard stuff, rock and roll type stuff and alternative and heavier music at night. And we started a show called The Crossroads, and me and Jamie, my co-host, we would play some stuff that we weren't allowed to play to in the daytime. So that was a really fun, I would call it an accomplishment. It sounds like something back in the 50s or something when rock and roll hit, and people were scared to play stuff like that on the air, that you offend people and all that. And it was all just kind of a student movement to be like, you're censoring us, and it's right here on the charts. Well, this has got a little heavy guitar in the break. Don't want to play that during the day. Scare somebody. Grandma listening to, the stuff at home. Well, it wasn't them that was listening to our station. It was mostly the students and the younger people. But anyway, so that was a neat little accomplishment there. And then we had the campers preview each year. They would bring in one of the bigger artists to perform. I got to interview Jackie Velasquez. She was her. Yeah, she was, I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if she was 20 years old at the time. But she had just kind of broke on the scene and was doing a concert there, and they wanted her to come in and do an interview on the air. And I've got a tape of that somewhere. I wish I could find it. I've actually recorded the interview I had with her. And I don't know why I was chosen. I guess maybe it was I was the manager, and everybody kind of pointed me to do it because they didn't want to do it.
Probably good purpose.
Yeah, and it was weird. We put a little cover over that small little window so people wouldn't peek in, or they knew where the station was, so if they knew she was on the air. But we did replay it, I think, once or twice during the day before the concert. So that was fun. And then another time, Caedmon's Call came to do a concert at Campus Preview. And this is when I was a manager. Well, me and Jamie were co-managers then. and we had just got up like a fresh batch of T-shirts and Frisbees with our logo on there. It was weird because, okay, so we got to introduce the band, but before they came out, we were like, touting ourselves in front of all of these prospective students, come to Toccoa Falls, you'll get to, be on the radio and do this and that. And we were tossing Frisbees into the crowd. I remember trying to get them. We were in the gym building, the gym where they had this concert. I remember trying to get a Frisbee to the, way back to the stands, from the stage, and it, hitting the roof and go, shooting down towards people. I was like, ooh, that was, sorry, But after the show, after we introduced the band and after the concert, there was, students that came up to us and wanted our autographs on the Frisbee. I was like, okay, I'm not, a rock star here. I'm not the one that was singing up there. I'm not Caveman's Call, but okay. So we were signing Frisbees and everything. I mean, it was like we were on top of the world. And we would get free tickets to concerts that were nearby. We went to see Jars of Clay a couple times in North Carolina. And who did we see over in Clemson? We saw Caveman's Call a couple more times. That's actually the first date I went on with my wife.
Nice.
Was to a free ticket Caveman's Call concert. So it was fun. I don't know. That was something I miss being a part of, just the management side of it too, and getting into new songs and introducing them, and even up until my final year there, I wasn't manager anymore. We passed that along, and I still wanted to do a shift. I had to do a shift just to kind of keep everything fresh and just to be on the air. So I think that was one of the times when I was working the later nights, and it was like I said there in the demo, but I still wanted to be on the air. I still wanted to kind of keep things fresh and going, and miss it a lot now, obviously. But
yeah,
this podcast and starting our podcast network, I guess we'll say, Rediscover the 80s and Masscast and others that we've tried along the way. It's just been an extension of that, just trying to keep things fresh and, being on the air and having that radio feel. We're not playing music. We're not really doing news. We do our little, icebreaker at the beginning of this show, but I don't know. That's coming full circle after going through that experience 20 years ago. I do miss it, and I do wish I was into it again, but
same here. That's my endeavor. I'm trying to, of course, start small, do podcasts like we've been doing. I'm trying to start my own podcast. But I want to build, I've shared this vision with you. I'd like to build a radio station for us as least expensive as possible for the moment. My envision, and maybe you guys can chime in and give your take, I'd like to do something like a streaming radio station, just like you'd hear a radio, AM, FM, whatever. You tune in, you might be getting halfway through the show. You don't know. But I'd like to do something along that lines with maybe a website hanging onto it that says, hey, if you want to hear our show in its entirety, click here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about doing the hobby station in conjunction with that, which is been recently learning that they can do a part 15, which allows you to broadcast, I think it's 200 feet, which I know doesn't sound like a lot by any means, but I am technically have a transmitter out in the backyard transmitting to the neighborhood, 4 or 5 houses, whatever, but can do that for free without having to pay and register for a call letters, for a frequency, for X, Y, and Z, basically. The only thing I do have to look at and still research is royalty licensing. Because if I play anything, someone could try to get me for that.
Right.
But I remember you working at the radio station. I remember a few times. I remember calling you, and looking back, I probably was just anxious because I wanted to be with you. We've always had a vision of being partnered broadcasting in some form or fashion. Of course, now we're doing a podcast, but doing that, and I was hoping you would reel me in as a call-in guest, every now and then. And I remember you put me on the air, I think once or twice, just for fun, and that was it. But I remember listening to you back when streaming was probably in its infancy. Something to that effect, and you were amazed that I figured out how to listen to you off the streaming. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like you said, we try to keep fresh. The podcasting is the best and least expensive way we can do it at the moment, short of actually getting hired on at the local radio station and right. having our fun. But this gives us our freestyle in that respect. We can experiment like we've done. We can start up Rankum, Memory Jogger, Rediscovered, Masscast, and whatever myriad of shows we've put on here. That's the one thing I like about podcasting. We can do what we want. And make 100 shows if we want and have a different style to it. But I do miss the broadcasting, as it were, where you're sitting behind a board and you're having to play the commercials or the music or the feed of whether it's just a talk show or the live actions of a sports show. That was always when I think the most active is when I was doing a live sports show, whether it was NFL or Bob and Carl. That was fun to just, okay, here I am. And, okay, that was a good 3 hours. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I missed those days. It was fun, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can make something happen someday. But until then, you can listen to our memories.
That's it. And this has been quite lengthy. I apologize to you guys, the listeners, especially that this is a little bit lengthy. This is part 2 of our extension of the First Jobs podcast. But we have a heart. You can tell. We have a heart for radio. We love WCPA.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can say you love WTXR as well. I would say I loved WINU until the new owners. That's probably the best way to put it. But that for that year that I was working with the boss, Jack Core, man, it was fun. I got to help him. I had 15 months of training, and I got to help him smooth out his radio station, and it was just fun to be able to experience that as well. But I think this rounds it out, and we're going to be talking about our next Memory Jogger. I think we've already picked it out.
Yeah, we've been talking about it back and forth, and I've even alluded to it on other shows since it's my turn to pick. But I want to get our memory boxes out, and we're just going to pull random stuff out of our memory boxes and see what we can find, see what little pieces of this and that we can remember from high school or even beyond that, field trips. I know I got some stuff out there that I've brought back from field trips and stuff when I was a kid, and just random stuff like that. So we'll try to keep it maybe at an hour. Once we hit an hour, we'll maybe do part 2 later if we've got more stuff. Because I know you've got several boxes. I've got at least 2 boxes in a trunk in the garage of just random memory stuff from pictures and everything too, but little trinkets and that. That's what I want to get at, and just we'll just do a memory box show.
Yeah.
And see what we can find.
Yeah, I'm leaving my toy boxes out of it because even though I have my toys, like the Transformers and Voltron and all that. Mm-hmm. That's not part of my memorabilia. I think I have about 2. There might be a third box that I have that are memorabilia, and it's trinkets. A lot of it's photos. I'm a photo hog. that's the best way to remember things. At the time when I took all the pictures of WCPA, I didn't even think about, didn't even fathom that we'd be doing this, you know. But I'm so glad that I did. I still kick myself. I swear I didn't take a picture of the AM board because QAX was cooler. It was the FM. I swear that's probably what I did. I'm hoping I wasn't, but I think that's what I did. But
yeah. Well, we'll break those out and see what we can find in there. I know I've got a collection of like old movie tickets that I've actually kept, the stubs, and wrote on there what movie I saw. So weird stuff like that I know I've got, and we'll bring out a couple boxes and start just going through it and see what we can find and share. And that'll be our next show. That'll be number, what, 15?
15.
Wow.
We're
So,
good now.
coming up on 15. I was thinking about the other day, it's the time to go listen to the Halloween show again that we did. I haven't listened to that in a while. We might have to start promoting some of the older shows that we've already, done before, and for people that haven't listened to those,
Yeah.
But,
it's been a little bit since I've gone through all of them. I was actually doing a whole cycle. With Meet the Hosts and Run It Up. But I keep going back to the First Jobs podcast. I think it's just more nostalgia and reminiscing about the days and then being able to talk with Bob. I think that's when that and the school days, I think, are for right now. I think those are my two favorite episodes that we've done so far.
Oh my gosh. I listened to the game show one, I don't know, probably at least a half a dozen times now.
Oh, really? I've listened to it twice. I haven't listened to it.
I've been on that one for a while, man. We were spot on with some of the stuff that we were coming up with on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, just off the cuff stuff. I was like, man, we did good on that one. So I don't know. It's weird, there's kind of two basic types of shows we do for this podcast. It's either our, flat out memories of experiences we had, and then other memories of pop culture. So we'll mix in the Halloween and the game shows and the first crushes we did and all that stuff, and then we'll actually do the school memories and the jobs and stuff that we actually experienced together. So I don't know. I think we got a good mix of shows in there where it's not just straight us trying to rack our brains over something, but that we can focus on a topic like Halloween and say, okay, well, what do you remember as a kid from Halloween? And it's not necessarily our experiences together, but still it pushes each other back and forth when we think of something.
Okay.
And,
that's what I enjoy.
So I like both of those types.
Yeah, we intentionally made this, like we said in Meet the Host, we have a kind of a timeline or an outline, but it's really loose. The idea is just to generate a couple ideas or something. The rest of it is truly off the cuff. There is no, I know you may not believe it, but there is no script. There's nothing behind us. It's strictly memories, and it's just
a little outline.
Yeah, so
we do a little outline just so if there's something we do remember when we think about the topic, I want to make sure I talk about that. We'll write down a few notes, but it's just it is a lot all from memory. So it's fun, man.
It is.
By the time we end this thing, this
marathon. It is. And like the last time, I'm not going to do my typical rap. I'm going to have a little snips, but if you have any comments or suggestions or anything you want to add to the podcast, please come out and find us on rediscoverthe80s.com. Tweet us on RD80s. Find us on Facebook. And like I joke, all the 21.1 gigawatt social media outlets that we have. But this is awesome. Again, thank you once again for watching and listening to us here on Memory Jogger. And once again, enjoy a little bit of our clips.
America. American-made. Clearfield County's biggest hits. WQYX.
WCPA-AM WQYX-FM. Clearfield.
When adverse weather sets in, Operation Snowwatch steps in.
Johnny Holiday Sports from 900 CPA, the sports leader is...
And for the rest of the story. Good day.
Clearfield High School Sports on WCPA Clearfield. Follow the Bisons on Community Involved News Talk 900 CPA.
NFL football on News Talk Sports 900 CPA.
To your health. Thank you for being with us each week here on 900 CPA.
WCPA.
900 CPA Sports presents Clearfield High School Wrestling.
WCPA. Clearfield.
Oops, that was a bit stuck. I did want to add one more. Last second. Sorry, guys, if you're wanting to cut out, but this is one that Jason and I have done several times. We can still spout it off on our verbatim. I think we can do it.
Yep.
What is ESPN Radio?
Yeah, ESPN Radio. That's like monster trucks and tractor pulls on the radio, right?
Wrong.
What, fitness shows?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're way off.
What is it, like gambling tips?
Buffalo may win this game by double digits, Chuck. You are not correct, sir. ESPN is radio for the sports fan. We're not talking rotisserie leagues. We're talking action. And we're talking to names. Big names from the big games this and every weekend. Plus, our guys. Berman, Gammon, Vital. If it's happening in sports, ESPN is there. Always live and always up to the minute with the latest news and scores. So if you're looking for...
That and this.
Look elsewhere, pal. This is sports radio from the guys that invented it. Sports radio, ESPN.
WCPA.
And that concludes it. Thank you again, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.
So we're going to do a teaser for our guys at the end?
We can. They're still here.
Yeah, really. Well,
I don't know what that time it actually is, because I know we started and the kids are in here, and there might be, 20, 30 minutes onto that. So I think we're right at 2 hours.
It says 2 minutes on mine. It says 2 minutes, 12 seconds, coming up on 13 seconds for, I think, when we just recorded. The overall shows almost 2:30 here. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you guys, I hope you're enjoying this. Again, we don't want to prolong it for you guys, especially watching. It's been 2 hours already. This is just for fun, like we've said, and I hope you're enjoying it. Again, leave us comments, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We have it somewhere.
That's true. All right, we'll let him go, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out of here. Take care.